But we set the vibe. We would make mixtapes. We would make like a playlist for Pedro, specific to his character. We made one specifically for Jay Ellis for his sleepy character. All the punk rock music. We had to make sure all the actors in that section of the movie were familiar with the punk music of the day, and they watched the documentary so that they all could understand what it was like to live in that era.
I can say with certainty, this underdog has seen his last day.
Yo, wait, hold up. We gotta take it from the top.
Ryan, Anna, how are you guys?
Hi.
Good, how are you?
Yeah.
I want to start saying thank you because you made one of the best movies about my country, the Dominican Republic, and Sugar.
Thank you.
I think it's a masterpiece.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, we like that. Thank you.
That was a fun one to make.
Now talking about Freaky Tales, which I also enjoy. And like we have different episodes, but every episode, it feels like it has a different color, a different tone, and it's like a different characters. How do you create something like that and you give a unique perspective to a collage of stories that it feels like it's just one?
Yeah. Well, they all stem from my childhood growing up in the Bay Area in Oakland, and so from the Too Short song "Freaky Tales" to the Sleepy Floyd epic basketball game against the Lakers to the punk rock music scene at the time in the Bay, and just the pulpy sort of crime films that I grew up loving. Once we sort of realized those are all the stories we wanted to tell and that we could tell them individually, then it became really fun to play with the different styles, the 16 millimeter grainy documentary style of the punks, all the way to the end, which is a super widescreen, like almost like a kung fu western, to the Sleepy Floyd story at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and we kind of like to think about it as all coming together in like a mixtape. So it's like it's not four separate stories, but it really is one mixtape that comes together as these four stories kind of underdogs in the Bay collide during this one day, and they all kind of intertwine.
Because this Oakland in '87, it looks like it's from the '80s, but it just feels so actual. It feels like in a present day. Just, like picturing that we're watching something from the '80s, but it just feels, because you show politically and cultural, it just feels like it's still actual. And I think that's pretty cool because I'm 40 years old and I was a kid in the '80s, but I watched a lot of VHS and things like that, like B Class, which I enjoyed. For me, it was the best thing to do. But also with the cast, because you have worked before with a huge cast, but just in one story. But now you have different casts and different stories. How do you work with them, tell them your vision, and you just feel like they all align? Even you have small presentation with Tom Hanks, which I think was great.
I mean, we got this dream cast, and when you have kind of all these amazing actors from Pedro Pascal to Ben Mendelsohn to Jay Ellis to Tom Hanks, like you mentioned, Normani, Dominique Thorne, I mean, it's just like, being a kid in the candy store as a director, it's you have the easiest job now. The hardest job is casting these people and getting them in the movie. Now you just get to kind of watch them do their thing.
But we set the vibe. We would make mixtapes. We would make like a playlist for Pedro, specific to his character. We made one specifically for Jay Ellis for his sleepy character. All the punk rock music. We had to make sure all the actors in that section of the movie were familiar with the punk music of the day, and they watched the documentary so that they all could understand what it was like to live in that era.
And also that fine line between being realistic, fantastic, and being like telling the story, and that fine line, it doesn't feel, because you can tell a story about something that is fantastic, but it doesn't change my mind of what I'm seeing that is real. The violence is real, the emotion that this person are creating are real, and that fine line between fantastic and realism is great.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, all the actors have to act like they're in a real movie, and it's our job as filmmakers to bring it to that next level so that our audience gets to experience that kind of like explosion, that cathartic explosion of kind of like fun, fantasy wish fulfillment of, you know, the underdogs kind of lighting the Nazis on fire or whatever it is.
I love it. And this is something new in your career. Besides your work with Marvel, I've been watching everything, and this is the more fantastic story because all the other stories about one character struggling about something. And this is like Pedro Pascal character struggling on vengeance because he wanted something new. And like Corleone in The Godfather 3, I was out, but they pulled me back. And I just love that story.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, like it was really fun to work with like the multiple chapters, you know, and like you said, we've focused on one character in the past, but it was really nice to focus on the entire ensemble.
There's a new series of horror stories called VHS, and they have different chapters like this. But this one, the Freaky Tales, it just transported me when I was growing up and I wanted to watch more movies. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you. I hope we get to make another one.
Yeah, I hope that too, because I had really had fun, and I just hope that people go and watch and just feel curious to go back and watch where all this come from.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day. Bye bye. And thank you for sugar again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Viva azúcar.
Viva.